All right, everybody, welcome back to the 1880 podcast. We are excited. We're going to be opening up Jude, the only chapter, verse 12 tonight. And to kick us off, Jewett.
With two things, I want to make a public service announcement. Lindsay does a phenomenal job introducing our episodes. However, I think we've discussed before how we thought it would be cool to have some sort of intro. I will admit to have tried playing around somewhat with an intro. Am I the only one?
I have not, but we've been watching Downton Abbey, and I feel like a gong, just
A dinner gong.
just a gong to announce the start. But no, I'm
That'd
just
be
joking.
very poignant.
Yeah.
Public service announcement. If you're listening to this and you consider yourself talented in the realm of sound effects and generation, or even just ideas, shoot them our way.
You can tell us them by in person or our email.
Or
At-
carrier pigeon. We'll take that too.
Yes, the medieval princess inside of
Yeah,
me.
you can hand me a
would love the
scroll as
carrier
well.
pigeon. The scroll.
Scroll would be,
Yeah.
yeah. it'd be
A
cool.
letter with a wax
papyrus.
seal. Papyrus.
Anyway,
Stone tablet.
that would be cool. That'd be a great way to kind of get our episodes rolling. Yeah, so if you have any ideas, send them over.
Youth at
You know
northbedfordbaptist.org.
You know what we should do? We should have like some secret word that we share in the podcast to like for them to repeat back to us so we know that they listen to it.
What on earth, though? What?
I think that'd be fun.
What in the coaching realm is going on right now? My old coaches when I was in soccer used to do that, where we would have to read a message and there would be like a specific. That's the whole reason I have a smiley face tattoo. There'd be like a specific instruction in the message, and then like if you read the message, like you would do the instruction, and like the final game was drawing a smiley face on your knee. That's why I have a smiley face on my knee. But anyway,
How would we insert that word in
That's-
the conversation
no.
without being
Say
extremely
pineapple.
obvious?
Okay.
Pineapple.
Banana.
Did you mean to say that? That just come out. That just came out naturally.
Why are you out?
No,
why,
we're
why
not
you
pausing.
No,
This
yeah,
is
let's gotta
gold.
roll.
We're rolling, with
rolling
this.
live
We're
tonight.
not pausing.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay.
That's
Anyway.
a Chuck reference.
That was.
That happened.
She uses it all the time.
No! Ah!
She's claiming it's not a. Okay, we'll get that explanation later. All right, so the real reason why it's supposed to start off with me is because shortly before we started recording, Lindsay made quite a claim. Lindsay claims that she just feels in her bones that she is a descendant of royalty.
I don't think that would be surprising. And I feel like our listeners would not heavily disagree that I could be a descendant of British or European royalty.
So, where, Lindsay, do you get this idea from when you've done all of your ancestry, DNA
Bro,
stuff?
I'm pulling my ancestry right now.
Why would you get this inclination when everything about that just points to you being a basic European woman?
I feel it.
Not
Too
good
dumb of
enough.
it.
You can take the girl out of the princess, but you can't take the princess out of the girl, and she feels it.
I do. Look, guys. When I tell you that the websites I check most on my laptop, besides like Gmail,
YouTube Shorts?
no, besides like Gmail, when I seriously mean I check Ancestry probably once every 72 hours. I love looking at my Ancestry DNA and like looking at all the cool places that my family traveled from, and I'll be honest, I don't know if they can get all that from spit in a tube, but like I'll believe it. And also like even if they don't, like I'm here for the vibes. Like I don't, it may be a lie, but I don't care because it feels it feels real.
We can talk about that.
Oh yeah, I knew that was good. I knew that was going to be a learning lesson that it feels real. And let's go. Well, do we really trust our feelings? No, but I can trust Ancestry DNA.
Right. Right.
Anyway,
It's possible. I'll give you an it's possible only because the story that's coming to my head, and I'm sure I don't have all the details on this, but there is, and I think Disney made a movie about it. No, not that one.
I love that movie, though.
The Princess Diaries.
I can't stand that movie.
I don't know that movie.
We'll watch it.
No.
You're welcome, Jasper. I'm sure you'll love it. No, it's about a king in Russia, I think, and something. There's like a coup for the throne. and-
Anastasia?
Yes,
That's not
it.
Disney. That's
What?
Fox. That's Fox,
Oh.
20th Century Fox, and that was made in 1997.
Was it a
Meg
cartoon?
Ryan starred as
Oh, it wasn't a
Anastasia.
cart- No, I think this one movie was a cartoon.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Anastasia is a cartoon.
But Meg
Meg Ryan
Ryan's
voiced
a real
her.
voiced her.
Yeah, voiced her, and it's such a good movie. I love that movie. That is one of the best animated. I couldn't watch it for a long time though.
But anyway,
Scary.
your descendants could be similar to that situation.
Similar to the Russian Revolution.
No, I
The
just
evil
some
wizard Rasputin.
It's not a- yeah, are you looking up the IMDb?
Oh, that's one of the main characters in Anastasia.
your descendants could have fled the royal palace
100%.
if there was a hostile
100%.
takeover. I can see it. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, I for sure. I
There are some members of your family that I would just love to see on a throne and see what would happen if they got
wouldn't.
a
I'll be
day on the
honest.
throne. I think that'd be
Can
really
you see
entertaining.
your dad in like the stereotypical red robe with the like Dalmatian printed
oh
line
My
and
father-
and the stereotypical king hat?
my
Crown?
father as a
Crown?
In my head, I saw something totally different. But yes, that is a crown.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I
I
think
feel like that's
that
the
my
secret word.
dad-
Tell us King Hat if
Yeah.
you listen to this.
would make just I'm seeing him now sitting on the throne and I don't even know. Like I am envisioning him in these royal robes, and I can't even tell you what he would do besides sit there and I don't know. What would he do? What would my father? Do I think he'd
Well,
be a good monarch? No.
Let's think of the situation closest to him being on a throne, where he has everything that he can call to himself whenever he wants it. And I'm thinking of a particular story that was discussed earlier.
What are you talking about?
Where's somewhere where you can get whatever you want whenever
Oh my
you want?
gosh, my dad. Oh, he's gonna kill me for this. Not actually. Okay. My dad, when we were in the 8th grade, we went on a Disney cruise, and my dad, he's probably the funniest guy I know.
He's hilarious. We love
him.
Mark.
We
love you, Mark.
We
if
love
you're
him.
listening to this.
But if you're not familiar with cruises, it's all inclusive. Most cruises are all inclusive, which means that like you pay, and then like while you're on the cruise, you don't ever touch your wallet. You don't even look at it. You just go and you enjoy the exorbitant amount of money it costs to get on a cruise. And my dad in the 8th grade, he loved the buffet on a Disney cruise, and he wanted to get his money's worth. So I've never seen a man eat more food than my father.
I
in
respect
20
it.
in
I feel like I would do the
2015.
same thing.
Yes, that's
Well-
the same approach I would take.
Right after the cruise, he had to get his gallbladder removed because the buffet it took him down.
Happens to the best
He
of
didn't
us.
go down with the ship, but the ship took him down, and that is he had to get his gallbladder removed. And to this day, the man is missing his gallbladder. So-
Well, it wouldn't just come back.
well, anyway, Dad, if you're listening,
I
and Mom,
mean,
I'm sorry if you. I know you are, so I'm sorry this story is to be relived.
hope it was worth it, Mark.
Yeah,
Hope the food was good.
it was. He
This-
would tell you it was worth it.
This reminds me, Coastal Carolina football. I don't know if you've heard this, Jasper. Their football stadium, they have agreed this year to give away their concessions are entirely free.
Wow.
Like you can just walk up and grab a hot dog.
What?
I
yeah,
love that.
you walk up and yes, and it sounds great.
You would love that.
Are the
you're a
tickets
hot
like
dog
crazy
fan.
expensive?
No, the food's just terrible.
That makes sense also.
Yeah.
No, that's
so you
horrible.
bring them in with the free food idea, which
Hey,
is
you know
a good
what? I
idea.
think it's I'd say it's worth it.
yeah. At the end of the day, a hot dog's a hot dog.
Yeah. It can't really be a good or bad hot dog.
Yeah.
I
really levels
disagree
to it.
pretty heavily. Actually, I have
Unless
had
you're
some
just
pretty
like-
horrible hot
Unless you're
dogs.
just like shriveling them up, letting them sit out like raisin hot dogs.
There's definitely better hot dogs than others, but the floor for hot dogs is edible.
Yeah.
No matter what.
That's true.
Me personally, nothing beats a Costco hot dog, and I'll stand on that
Sam's
principle.
hot dog.
No, Jasper, you're wrong, and just deal with it. The fact is, a Costco hot dog is the best. $1.50? $1? You can't beat that.
A quarter?
All right. Before we get into the text here, want to preview what we have coming down the line. It is an inspiration in my own mind that I'm excited about. It's called the Dream series.
Dream.
Not the dreams we've been talking about in Jude, though.
Yes, not those kind of dreams. The kind of dreams that just, me, Jasper, and Lindsay individually, just things that we just get excited about, things that we would love to do one day, some of which might be very, somewhat realistic, some of which may include sitting on a throne with a king hat one day.
So true.
Anyway, so you got that to look forward to.
A little bucket list series for you guys coming at you in the next couple episodes.
All right.
Great.
Let's get
Jude
rolling.
verse 11.
All right, we're going to pick up in Jude.
Sorry, 12. Not 11.
In Jude, verse 12. Thanks for sticking with us for that first 10 minutes through the utter chaos that was that. But, I mean, what else would it be without us? We encapsulate chaos sometimes. All right, Jude, verse 12. When these people, I'm going to start back at 11 just to give some context. That way it's not as confusing. What sorrow awaits them, for they follow in the footsteps of Cain, who killed his brother. Like Balaam, they deceive people for money, and like Korah, they perish in their rebellion. When these people eat with you in your fellowship meals, commemorating the Lord's love, they are like dangerous reefs that can shipwreck you. They are like shameless shepherds who care only for themselves. They are like clouds blowing over the land without giving any rain. They are like trees in autumn that are doubly dead, for they bear no fruit and have been pulled up by the roots. So just for preference, I read verses 11 and 12, and this is talking about when people creep into the church who teach false things and they pretend to know Jesus. That is what it's talking about. All right, take it away.
Do we want to try to tackle verse 13 as well?
Yeah, at least read it.
Yeah,
Let's
at least
read
read
it.
it.
Yeah.
All right, verse 13. They are like wild waves of the sea, churning up the foam of their shameful deeds. They are like wandering stars doomed forever to blackest darkness.
All right, this is where Lindsay, I enjoyed your translation of those two verses.
The good old boy translation.
The good old boy
NLT.
translation really kind of explains a lot of what verse 12 starts out with. And it's, in mine and Jude, I'm assuming yours is fairly similar. It says that these people, or these are hidden reefs at your love feast. All right. Let's just kind of walk through what some of these things mean. What's a hidden reef?
Well, something that you do not see, that if you make contact with when you're not ready can bring you down. The Titanic comes to mind. I know that wasn't a reef, but
Similar idea.
yeah, similar idea.
As the only one of us that grew up within 20 minutes of an ocean, what I will
grew up
say,
at 20
no,
5 minutes of a lake.
the Arkansas River does not count. All right,
Keystone Lake.
No, Keystone Lake is the color of dirt. We're not counting that. All right, I'm just gonna lay that out right now. But with the ocean, there are like we didn't have a lot of reefs near us, but like if you were swimming and you like hit a reef underwater, like if you were snorkeling, there were in different areas like around the beach that we were, but like not like if you had to swim out to it and you like your foot caught on it, you'd like cut your foot. Like the reefs are sharp, and so like you would cut your foot and it'd be bad. Or like if you would cut your fingers, and like it's one of those things where it doesn't seem very dangerous, but it can be really, really dangerous. And then you can get caught in it. And like, especially like your bathing suits, like our bathing suits used to get caught in them. Like they can be very dangerous, even for just swimmers.
There can also be like a maze-like quality almost to
For
them
sure.
too, right? Like if
Yeah.
they're really big and it all looks exactly the same, you can kind of get disoriented somewhat.
That's what I assume. I've never been to Australia, bucket
Yeah.
list item. But my imagination for what the Great Coral Reef, that's what it's
Barrier
called.
Reef.
Great Barrier Reef looks like. I feel like that is kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, so we have this idea of something that is, and usually you find reefs in areas like Lindsay was saying where you'd swim, so they're not in super deep bodies of water, but they may be deep enough. And this is the case he's talking about, is not for swimming, but how do people mostly go around from country to country back in the day when Jude's writing this, about 2,000 years ago?
Boats.
Yeah, by boats. Okay, and you'd be going somewhere, and you'd be going by boat, and you'd go in water that you think is high enough for your boat to sail in, and you'd be maybe approaching land, and you would not be able to see the reef, and it would, because boats back then were made out of wood, it'd wreck your boat, and you'd be shipwrecked. All right, so it's the same idea that these.
And sorry, something to just add. It would wreck your boat pretty unmanageably. Like there would be
Yeah, you'd be in the water.
like you would be stuck. There would be no like repairing. Like it would really hurt you.
All right,
Continue.
so these reefs are things that you do not see that will destroy you pretty badly, if not entirely. And they are just beneath the surface. And so these people that are maybe creeping, or not maybe, that are creeping into the church unnoticed with this false teaching, Jude here is comparing them to that they are just beneath the surface, ready to just take you down and basically utterly destroy you if you're not vigilant for them. Okay, so that's what our hidden feasts are, our hidden reefs, and our love feasts. I like Lindsay's translation of this because it kind of explains what a love feast is. A love feast is maybe a weird term, and this is my church history nerd coming out, but that's kind of the term early Christians used for their gathering of a meal and of worship and these things. They would call them a love feast.
So like a worship service?
Yeah, essentially. First century worship service in a way. Most of them were centered around a meal. So a little bit different from what we have today, but it's where they would share a meal and take communion, and then they would have a message of encouragement from the scriptures. Okay, so we have that. So these people are there with them while they're doing these things. Well, things seem to be going great because in the outside world, they're facing hard things, maybe persecution, maybe people are being hateful towards them for their beliefs, because in the culture then, love feasts were viewed as something really wicked. They would claim that Christians, because they called these things love feasts, but they were just meals, people from outside the church would claim that they were gross and immoral things that were going on at these love feasts, when in reality it was just a meal where they would love would be flowing to each other, but people made claims from outside. But so they're there with them on the inside, ready to destroy those things, and they have no fear about it. And so that's a little bit of a concerning thought, that those things are just kind of waiting for us.
This is a question that I'm not entirely prepared to answer myself, at least not yet. So if these people feast without fear, what reason would someone who is following God as they should have to fear at something like this? And I hope that's not too heavy of a question to ask right now, but do you know what I'm getting at?
Can you ask it one more time?
Yeah, so verse 12 here says, these are the men, talking about
The false teachers.
Yeah.
Right.
When they feast within the community of Christ, they do so without fear. And so if those people do that without fear, the implication being that there should be some element of fear in that community, and what reason would that be for?
There would be a part of a fear that maybe there are some people in the community, because the gathering of the love feast here is people who are both believers and those who are maybe have heard about it and are interested and are coming to these things. And part of the, not maybe worry is a better word for the Christian than fear, but would be that they would draw the seed of the gospel away from these people who are kind of considering following Christ, if that makes sense.
Actually, I took a different route.
Okay.
But I do think it's still grounded in, I wouldn't say it if I didn't think there was biblical merit for it. When I want to try and figure out how to say this, people who are coming in to these feasts, to churches that do not know Jesus and are either putting on a fake facade or fake identity that they do, and they are lying, have no understanding for just how true and all-powerful God is, because they don't know him and are not in a relationship with him. So they do not have a complete fear and or reverence for the Almighty. Therefore, the no fear is in contrast, which Jude is filled with, is in contrast to the fear that Christians have. And again, fear, especially, there's only one English word, and it's fear. And it's hard because in English, fear, I'm an English teacher, in case you didn't know. But like in English, fear is so often used, especially in modern English, as an inflicting, very scary feeling. But I don't want to remove that because it comes from the right idea, which is the fact that there is something bigger than you and greater than you that you can't control, which is true. That is God. But not something to be feared in the sense of scary or dangerous, but something to be feared in the sense of I am not in control. I need help. I am going to submit. I'm going to respect. I'm going to revere the God above me. And that is something that Christians have that people who do not know him do not have. Otherwise, they would know him. Does that make sense the way I'm saying it?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is what I what I actually have in my notes. I went off my notes, but that's okay. It's that this without fear is at least partially, maybe mostly, or maybe this is exactly what it means, is that when these people come into their love feast, there is no conviction of sin. And that is evidence that there is no Holy Spirit in them.
100%.
Okay, it's coming together for me. So, and I think once again we can go back to verse 10, and we can go back to our example of both Boone and Ace doing things that are unreasoning, and doing so in a way that's out of control with no concern about where that might take them.
Yeah. All right. The next phrase used to describe these people. Oh, actually, one final note, just kind of an aside on the love feast idea. We look at church today, and we see it as a worship service, which is not wrong and is exactly what it should be. But I think it is a little telling of the early church, the fact that their worship gatherings were not just called a worship gathering, but were called love feasts. That the goal of them going there was to show love to one another and to care for one another and to be kind to one another, and not just to go to a place where you sing songs or hymns and you listen to a message that is hopefully encouraging, but it is to be in community with believers
Right.
and to love them and to receive love from them as well. So that is kind of a point at the early church and their priorities of both Christ-likeness and love towards each other that sometimes I think, especially in the American church, because we are just such an individualistic country, we can sometimes miss. So the purpose of church is to worship God, but is also to be in community with other believers.
Which is why this, I mean, this is like just bear with me for about a minute and a half, which is why this idea which is why going to church for believers is so crucial. And it shouldn't be a way of just like entertainment. It shouldn't be a means of like trying to make church seem, or like church should never be a way to try and make Christianity seem more approachable or more, what's another word? Like, not approachable. Somebody help me. Like
Inviting, maybe?
inviting, or like, because like the reality is like
Accepting.
the gospel is offensive. Like the gospel literally calls out people for being sinful and wrong and dead. That is what the gospel does. So like we don't need to make church something that it's not. What it is it's Christians coming together to celebrate the fact that Jesus saved them. And because of that, their love for others, their kindness for others, their way of speaking truth to others is rooted in how Jesus does. And that is what others see. We don't have to try and make Christianity approachable, because God is the one who changes hearts. We're simply called to be faithful and to tell others, right? To share the gospel with others. God is the one who changes hearts. So our church should not be an attempt to going to church shouldn't be an attempt to make, or like if you're a part of a church, like it shouldn't be an attempt to make Christianity like seem like, well, this is, and it's all wrapped up in a big beautiful bow, because guess what? Nobody knows all of the answers. But what it is it's an ability, a place for a community of Christians to gather and celebrate and bond over the fact that they are saved by the exact same Savior. Like Christianity, there are hard things inside of it, because like there is sin in life. So to make it seem really just like beautiful and easy and like good, like easygoing, so like that's not realistic. Like Jasper was explaining, we had dinner on the porch, and Jasper was explaining how like John, the disciple of John, like the
The apostle.
the apostle. Wait,
Both.
Yeah. Okay. I was.
Sorry.
I did have a
More
moment.
commonly referred to as the Apostle
It's
John.
like that meme, the yes, but
But anyway, but like how his life, Jesper, the man that he followed and dedicated his life to died in front of him. All 11 of the people that he grew close to because of this man were all killed. Like he was sent away, exiled, deported from all of these countries. Like these really intense things happening. Oh yeah, that's the Apostle John. Like that's the guy who's written multiple books in the New Testament. That's the guy that
5.
So multiple. Okay, so the yes buts have got to stop.
I was just thinking of the number.
That's the beloved, the one who Jesus loved, who is mentioned in the book of John. Like that is, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things of like, Jesus is the one who saves and gives us the strength to continue and to follow his instructions and his words through his strength, right? So anyway, that's my little, did any of that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
it did. I think the big takeaway here is Christian community and fellowship is a sacred thing,
Yes.
because that's where God's love expresses itself through that community and the interaction of people. And I'm so thankful that the Holy Spirit inspired Jude to write these words, because how else would we know how to defend the sanctity of that fellowship? And while many of these words and phrases that we are reading seem extremely harsh, this is how we're commanded to deal with these things, and it's because the fellowship of believers in the church, that's where God dwells in us, and that's where his love flows through us, and it's worth protecting.
Yeah. All right. We're at 27 minutes. Let's do this last phrase, and then let's save the rest, because the rest kind of all bunch goes together.
Sounds
The
good.
rest of 12 and 13. So the last phrase we're going to cover is the phrase where it says, after they feast with you without fear, that not they are, but it's comma, shepherds feeding themselves. First, what does the Bible most commonly refer to people as?
Sheep.
Is that a kind thing? Is that meant to be? What's that meant to say about us?
It's not especially favorable towards our own wisdom and abilities.
First time I saw sheep was in Williamsburg in 2022. They were so cute. But they just kind of walked around. It did nothing.
Yeah, so we often are referred to in Scripture as sheep. That's not, like Drew was saying, not meant to be a favorable term, kind of meaning that we just kind of walk around and do whatever and don't really think about what we're doing. And that's true for most of our lives. And when Jesus saves us, he not only gives us the Holy Spirit to be able to not just be sheep, but we have a shepherd, and that is Jesus. And Jesus has people underneath him who he has given authority to be our physical shepherds here on earth.
I just thought of, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, pastors is a word that we use for that.
I just thought of this thought that sheep don't really have a purpose. They wander. Like, that's their whole deal. They just kind of walk and run into fences.
And provide wool.
They do provide wool. And, like, the whole purpose of a shepherd is to help the sheep. So, like, when we know Jesus, he provides purpose for our lives. Like, there are specific commands given to Christians that give our life purpose that we did not have previously. So instead of being purposeless sheep, we're purposeful sheep.
Because if sheep are just wandering, they don't even have the purpose of providing wool. You need a shepherd to do that. Okay, so to get back to the point of shepherds feeding themselves. Oh, my brother's FaceTiming me. That's so loud. All right, it's done. With shepherds feeding themselves, the role of the shepherd is to feed the sheep and to care for the sheep. But what is being said about this person who's coming in unnoticed, who is bringing false teaching, is that they are a shepherd, so they are being put into a role. In a sense, they are receiving that role from God to be a shepherd over people, and they are taking that role and then the authority that they're given to just feed themselves and provide for themselves in a very selfish way that only benefits them. When the role of a shepherd is supposed to be to provide for the sheep and to do anything to protect or care for the sheep.
There's this visual I have in my head that I cannot tell you where I've seen it. Probably years ago in a church in West Virginia somewhere. But it's a shepherd who's carrying the sheep on his like shoulders because the sheep is hurt. And it really just, it's a really, really beautiful picture because the shepherd carries the sheep and the sheep is hurt and it can't, you know, if the sheep was hurt, the sheep couldn't carry the shepherd. Only the shepherd was able to carry the sheep. Anyway.
So these people are doing things for their own benefit, and that is it. And it's revealing that when they're supposed to be loving others, in reality they only love themselves and are taking advantage of the sheep just to feed themselves and to benefit themselves. So they're given a role of leadership, and they just use it for their own benefit.
Probably this can be the last thing we talk about, but to kind of bring it down to earth a little bit, what are some practical ways that we think this shows itself in community? What does it look like to care for yourself at a point where it kind of disregards your responsibilities to others?
If you are in a role where you are supposed to be, in the Christian context, a shepherd is someone who's providing spiritual care and spiritual nourishment for the flock or for the sheep. If the person that is teaching these things is only using their platform as an opportunity to talk about maybe how good they are or what all that they do that's so righteous or so great, that could be a sign or indication of a person who is a shepherd who's just trying to feed himself because he's just using that platform to boost his ego. That's the first thought that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I wonder, and I think that is all true. And I think there's several other biblical references that discuss the theme of shepherd and sheep. But on some level, the sheep, anybody that comes in and starts telling the sheep what to do, the sheep would consider a shepherd.
Yeah.
And so I think there's almost a caution here to, you know, anyone who comes into Christian fellowship and starts teaching about the things of Scripture and directing, there has to be some self-evaluation there, you know, regardless of status on some level. And so, you know, for our you know, somewhat of our target general audience, that could be you very well too. If you are in a position where you are guiding someone according to what you think God is, that's a serious thing and needs to be evaluated.
Yeah, on the not necessarily other side, but this maybe is more applicable to anyone. For the person who doesn't feel, that has no self-confidence or is just really their self-esteem is super low, but they are maybe in a Christian context, so they know what they're supposed to be doing, and they might be going around not necessarily boasting about these things, but teaching people what things to do, but they're just doing it so that they put on the front or the facade that people would think, oh man, this person, not that they've got it all together, but man, they're faithful to God. When in reality, they're not. They just know what to say to make people think that. And that helps them to feel better about themselves. And that's wrong because, and it's funny, I had a conversation today about this. Like, we as people are very good at thinking that we can trick God. And we can put on this facade to the world, and that if we can do it good enough, we can fool God too, and we'll make it in without doing the right things. Not the right thing, but trusting in Jesus, the only way. But we think if we can fool everybody, we can make it on our own. But that person is just as lost as a person who knows nothing about God, because our knowledge does not save us. Only a relationship with Jesus saves us, and his sacrifice on the cross does that.
Very serious stuff. I think we're leaving it there. I think that's good. Yeah.
See you next week. Thanks for listening.